Hey everyone, Austin here from Radial Engineering, and I'm here to give you a brand new look at our new Highline and Highline stereo line isolators. So many of you might be asking, what is a line isolator and what did you design it for? Well, that's a great question. Obviously, we have a long history of making a whole bunch of different DI boxes for your working musician and engineer needs, but the Highline and Highline stereo are designed for something completely different. These are designed for use with amp sim pedals. So think in the minds of IK Multimedia Tonex, Strymon Iridium, or even the UAFX like Dream 65, Ruby, all those types of pedals. So overall, when you're looking at a DI box, they're looking to generally accept a high impedance instrument level input and basically convert the signal down, i.e. attenuate it to a mic level output, just via XLR. With the Highline and Highline stereo, these are specifically designed for use with low impedance line level connections. So i.e. the outputs you're going to be typically seeing from amp sim pedals such as the ones I mentioned earlier. These are much more purpose built for these types of applications. So enough talking about that, let's actually get into how they work and why we designed them the way we did. So to start, let's start with our little Highline here. This is our mono box. Another difference between the Highline and Highline stereo and our other DI boxes are the transformers we use. Of course, we're using pristine, premium Jensen transformers in both the Highline and Highline stereo. Typically with our other DI boxes, such as the JDI and JDI stereo, those use 12-to-1 DI box transformers, and typically they're going to take that signal and convert it down to a mic level output. In these units, we're using a 1-to-1 output transformer, which means they provide unity gain signal. So overall, the amount of signal you feed into it is what you get out of it, which helps provide like a really strong signal to front of house when you're feeding your guitar signals there. So first and foremost, you get a really low signal to noise ratio. Additionally, the transformers we use in the Highline and Highline stereo, we use for balancing purposes to get to the XLR here and the XLRs on our stereo unit, which we'll talk about in a second. When you're looking at the outputs here, the impedances of pins 2 and 3 on the XLRs when you're balancing with a transformer are completely matched. So i.e. when you're feeding a differential amplifier, say in like a mic input or line input on a mixer, overall you're going to get much cleaner results in terms of overall noise rejection. The last best part to talk about with the Highline and Highline stereo is transformers inherently protect you from 48-volt phantom power. So just by inserting this in the signal path, all your gear is safe from any accidental phantom power sending that might happen from the mixer. Anyhow, enough of that. Let's actually look at how these boxes tick. So overall, here on the Highline, we have both an input and through jack. Both the Highline and Highline stereo can accept either unbalanced TS or balanced TRS inputs. So these will also work well at the outputs of, say, a Kemper or an Axe-Fx. From here, we have a little sum switch, which basically, when engaged, turns your through output into an input jack. Essentially, what that allows you to do is take the stereo outputs of an amp simulator pedal, feed them into both these now input jacks when you engage the switch, and you get a proper resistive summed signal in mono at the XLR output. Otherwise, we got a nice little ground lift switch here for if you run into any issues with hum and buzz. And overall, pretty straightforward little unit. Let's jump over to the Highline stereo now. So here's sort of the big sister product to the Highline. So the Highline stereo, as the name suggests, this is directly designed for use with stereo outputs from amp sims. In terms of our jacks here, we did design these units for use with pedal boards in mind. So typically when you're looking at pedal boards like the one we have right here for demonstration purposes, pedal boards generally run from input on the right side to output on the left side. So when we designed this unit, typically our input jacks on DI boxes are coming in on the bottom here, but with the Highline and Highline stereo, we actually specifically chose to put them on the right side right here. So when you're coming from the output of your pedal board and you have the Highline stereo right here, you can come out from your amp sim and just basically use a couple right angle jacks and just go into the inputs right there. Quick and easy, makes everything nice, clean, and tidy. Like I said with the Highline, either balanced or unbalanced connections here. The through outputs will also pass either balanced or unbalanced depending on what you have connected. The through outputs can be used to feed, for example, like a flat frequency response speaker or maybe any sort of personal monitoring you're wanting to use. Otherwise, we have a couple of other little switches here. These are a couple of different sum switching options, which helps the Highline and Highline stereo not only just be a line isolator, but also like a general interface for your amp sim pedal board and provide way more flexibility without the need for repatching or anything like that. To take a further look, we have the through sum here on the left. What this allows you to do is basically take your through outputs, sum them before the jacks to mono, and then split them to both outputs at the same time. So for example, maybe if you're wanting to use your pedal board with a standard tube amp, all you really have to do is you can basically turn off your amp sim on your board, hit the through sum switch, and you can take either the left or right output and plug it right into the input of a tube amp and just use your pedal board as it is. So overall, you don't need to unplug anything, don't need to repatch anything. You just turn off your amp sim, hit the switch, plug in a jack, you're good to go. From here, we also have our XLR Sum switch. This basically will sum the signal pre-XLR output and then split the summed mono signal to both XLRs at the same time. This is super handy if you're maybe wanting to run your signal to front of house, but the front of house person is maybe running short on inputs on your board. So overall, if you need to only feed a summed mono output, you don't have to, again, repatch anything on your board. You can hit the Sum XLR switch here, and you can use either the left or right outputs as needed to feed a signal to front of house. Otherwise here, we have our pair of stereo XLR outputs for when those switches are not engaged. Both the Highline and Highline stereo use Neutrik jacks here, as well, again, the little ground lift switch. Overall, we're really stoked about these products, and they really bring home the concept that when we're looking at guitar players and the tone that they spend so many hours crafting and trying to get absolutely perfect, using the Highline and Highline stereo will not only provide a strong signal to front of house, it'll provide the signal that you hear in your head and that you've spent so much time crafting. Overall, really stoked about these boxes. If you have any other questions at all or need any additional info, either hit us up in the comments below or shoot us an email, support@radialeng.com. Otherwise, I'm Austin here at NEM 2025. Thanks for listening.